1.6 Digital Sovereignty. So, here this topic is in news because our Prime Minister spoke about digital sovereignty at Sydney Dialogue in Australia. Here, Sydney Dialogue is an initiative of Australian think tank called Australian Strategic Policy Institute. So, this Sydney Dialogue provides a platform to discuss the opportunities, challenges with the present technologies. So, our Prime Minister has attended the meeting and raised his concerns over the digital sovereignty. Here, digital sovereignty is the right of the country to govern its network to serve its national interest, especially on security, privacy, and commerce. In short, digital sovereignty means all the controlling authority relating to digital world should vest in its own country, not any other country, especially the enemy's country. So, the digital technology is used almost in each and every sector and has become a part of life. But the major concern is all the digital technology services is concentrated only on the American or the Chinese multinational companies, which can cause India a major threat. So, here at the meeting, the Prime Minister highlighted five important transitions taking place in the world. The first is world's most extensive public information infrastructure is going to build in India, and also which have a unique digital identity and efficient payment infrastructure. The second is use of digital technology for governance, inclusion, empowerment, connectivity, delivery of benefits and welfare in India. And the third is India has the world's third largest and fastest growing startup ecosystems. Fourth is massive digital transformation in industry and service sectors, even in agriculture. Fifth is efforts for developing indigenous capabilities in telecom technology such as 5G and 6G. So, giving a roadmap for democracies to work together, emphasis was put on creating standards on and norms for data governance and cross-border flow that protects and secures data. So, in a democracy, data is considered a national resource and is important for transparent policy making and problem solving. Also, access to data should be democratized to prevent data monopolization and check unfair practices. So, now let us get into this the significance of digital sovereignty. So, here digital sovereignty means right of the state to govern its own network to serve its national interest. Okay, so the significance of the digital sovereignty is first, see here, it can check the economic dependence. The major digital technology companies are of US and China. So if we maintain digital sovereignty, then we can also eradicate the domination of these US and China countries. Okay, for example, GAFA. GAFA means Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, and NATO, that is Netflix, Airbnb, Tesla, Uber, possess billions of users' data around the world. So, what does that mean? Is India safe and secure in terms of digital technology? No. So, for that, digital sovereignty is needed. And second is reduce technological dependence. So, if we reduce the dependence on technology, we can keep a check on the unfair competition in digital markets and address the vulnerabilities with respect to emerging technologies, 5G and artificial intelligence. And the third is guaranteed access to data. So, if we promote digital security, then there will be a chance to promote businesses and research institutions which can improve economy. So, for example, imagine if WhatsApp, Facebook, and other digital platforms are removed and India's version of digital platforms arise, then there might be a huge chance for business markets, innovations, etc. in India if the quality is equal or more than that of WhatsApp or Facebook. So there will be more users, and ultimately India will be developed in the technological matters also. So the fourth is internal security and unity of the country. So digital sovereignty promotes internal security and the digital unit. Next is fifth, citizens' behavior. So it can promote democracy, especially during elections. So here the key definitions. So data sovereignty is the idea that data are subject to the laws and governance structures within the nation it is collected. Next, data ownership, right of possession to identifiable data that is claimed by the entity. For example, person, organization, government entity, all these come under the data ownership. And under data residency or data localization, an organization stores their data in a geographical location of their choice. For example, tax regime or based on more stringent legal obligations. Next is identifiable data. The data can be linked to a specific entity, for example, a person. So the global experience is European Union General Data Protection Regulation GDPR. So under the terms of GDPR, any organization, no matter where it is based, must abide by a set of data management rules if it want to trade with customers in European countries. So those rules make it possible for individual citizens to take more control on how their data might be used. So this is about the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, and the next is European Cloud Service Gaia X, which was announced jointly by France and Germany in 2019. So it plans to connect small and medium-sized cloud providers in Europe that allows them to offer an alternative to the world's biggest, often US-based cloud service providers. For example, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So this is about the European Cloud Service GAIX. Next is the challenges to digital sovereignty. So the first is lack of global rules. So the World Trade Organization did not design the regulations to prevent data flow, and even the current domestic and international structures does not allow the countries to make policies in favor of the production and purchase of goods and services produced domestically. And the next is multi-stakeholders internet governance. So this rejects the government dominating the international institutions, and this provides transnationalism. That means it doesn't encourage government domination over the international institutions. And the next is against liberal democracy. Here, liberal democracy means a system where individual rights and freedom are officially recognized and protected. So, the challenge of this digital sovereignty is it is against digital democracy. That means the present technology is against the digital sovereignty. So next is act as a trade barrier. So the digital sovereignty act as a trade barriers because from smart homes to playing, all are connected to commonly used technology, and digital sovereignty leads to some disturbances. So this is that create a trade barrier. And next is rise of transnational networks. Here, as there is a rise of the extension of social, political, and economic processes, that is transnational network in the digital technology, there might be a problem if digital sovereignty is addressed within the national jurisdictions. So, the complexity of using the digital technology might arise. So, here India and digital sovereignty. India's digital sovereignty vision has three pillars: a push to leverage data as a key tool of economic growth and development by asserting regulatory oversight over the practices of multinational private actors. Next is a domestic push backed by a global diplomatic gambit to prevent the inequitable construction of digital trade rules. And the third is leveraging of data security in bilateral security disputes. So the steps taken in India are: first, Personal Data Protection Bill 2019. So this bill seeks to provide for the protection of personal data of individuals and establishes a data protection authority for the same. The second is RBI's direction to all system providers. So it provides to ensure that the entire data relating to the payment system operated by them is stored in a system only in India. So these are the India steps to taken to achieve the digital sovereignty. So the next is way forward. So identifying dependencies and weaknesses of foreign technologies. So the five key areas for identifying dependencies and weaknesses of foreign technology are: first is cloud and data infrastructure, second is business to government data, that is B2G, third is business to consumer data, B2C, and 5G connectivity and artificial intelligence. So these are the key areas where the digital sovereignty can be replaced by introducing digital services. And the second is empower. So we can boost digital service by removing barriers in trade in digital single market to encourage local technologies, boost investment in research and development, and in digital skill for workforce. The third is engage internationally. So we have to engage internationally for digital markets and emerging technologies, etc. Next is data localization. The government suggests the companies to store digital data locally within their jurisdiction because it can maintain digital sovereignty.